Another question someone asked me relating to Bruce Lee still being living, where would Jeet Kune-Do or JKD be today? Well, I believe that JKD and Jeet Kune-Do will still be prevalent in today's martial arts world. Uh, Bruce Lee was an innovator. He was the epitome of greatness as it relates to martial arts. And as far as I'm concerned, humanity coupled with that. There were other great ones, but Bruce Lee was special in his own sense and right as it relates to what he cultivated and what he expressed as it relates to martial arts. During that time, even though you had great martial arts masters in the karate, kung fu, taekwondo, and various other arts to include jiu-jitsu, uh, Bruce Lee's approach was different because that was his uniqueness. So, didn't see anyone during that time doing thumb push-ups. Not to say that it wasn't done in karate, for spear hand strikes or nukate or gouging and so forth, but he made it popular. Thumb push-ups, finger push-ups, he made it popular. Uh, didn't see anyone with a physique like Bruce Lee for the most part during that time in the Americas, anyway, uh, where you can see so much definition. Even though he was Chinese and he had a smaller frame body, you can see it better, but very little in the way of fat. Uh, as a matter of fact, Joe Weider, bodybuilder at the time, extraordinary man, he made the comment that Bruce Lee could stand in an anatomy class or physiology class or a biology class, whatever type of class as it relates to the body, the human body. And you can see virtually every muscle because Bruce Lee developed not only the major muscles, larger muscles in his upper body especially, but also some of the very fine or smaller muscle groups as well. And you can see this in Return of the Dragon and more so in his baby, Into the Dragon. So many scenes in that film, you would see the musculature of this man and the hard work and dedication that he had put into perfecting himself. So that was that. Now, Jeet Kune-Do today, it is not as popularized since Bruce Lee has been off the scene for so many years. Does not make him not relevant, though. As a matter of fact, I still believe that Bruce Lee deserves more attention today than he did uh, receive, or has not been receiving, I should say, since the advent of the so-called MMA, because Bruce Lee was MMA in a true sense. So there are a lot of great fighters and competitors in today's mixed martial arts, but in the true sense of the word mixed martial arts, Bruce Lee brought it to the surface. And it's not someone who studied one particular discipline versus another person in the opposite or another discipline. It was someone who studied several disciplines. That's real mixed martial arts. We did that back in the 70s. I did mixed martial arts. So if I was fighting a boxer, for example, I'm not just bringing judo, jiu-jitsu, kung fu, karate. I'm bringing all of them to the table. So that's mixed martial arts in the true sense. So Jeet Kune-Do today, I think, will still be very relevant, and I think it has taken the back seat to some degree in terms of popularity today because of mixed martial arts and the guts and the blood thing, and people like violence. Bruce Lee will have not approached it in that respect or sense. But I can also say that Bruce Lee's followers, uh, students, never really promoted Jeet Kune-Do on the level that I think it should have been promoted since Bruce Lee was living. And that's really it in a nutshell. I love Shannon Lee, his daughter. She's done a stellar job in keeping the memory of her father alive. But had Brandon Lee still been with us, it would have been more profound, being Bruce Lee's male child. And I do believe that Brandon Lee, his untimely death was preventable. And I'll leave that there. But Bruce Lee's students did not uh, do him the greatest of service in terms of keeping Jeet Kune-Do alive worldwide. They could have, had it really been an issue, but apparently it was not an issue. Notwithstanding, some of them had their own careers, such as Dan Inosanto, love him to death. His Filipino art, that's his art. He was one of Bruce Lee's top students. Uh, I don't know if someone would think that Dan should have carried the mantle of Jeet Kune-Do as if he were doing a great service to Bruce Lee. Dan, again, I respect the fact that, his true passion was Filipino martial arts first. And Jeet Kune-Do, he just happened to have met a great person in the personage of Bruce Lee. And he did him great justice when they were both living together. But Jeet Kune-Do today, had Bruce Lee been living, I believe that the so-called MMA people, the so-called MMA fighters, would be looking up to Bruce Lee today if he was still here in Jeet Kune-Do, and things may have taken a different turn instead of what we see in the octagon today. So Jeet Kune-Do today, had he still been living, would probably be on the front cover of most magazine publications, and a lot of videos done and so forth, a lot of seminars in that. I believe Bruce Lee was still climbing, but unfortunately he's not here any longer. But his body of work is, and as long as I'm still living, and there are many others, I'm sure, as long as I'm still living, I will still pay homage to his legacy, to his memory. So I hope I answered that question about where would Jeet Kune-Do be today had Bruce Lee still been living. It would still be popular, very popular. Take care, one and all. This is Brother Teacher Grandmaster Stroud. I will see you in the next video. If you have any comments concerning this particular subject or anything that you would like me to address, please leave it in the comment section below. And you have a great day, evening, or afternoon, depending on where you are. So long.